Hello all, it's Vishweshwar here. Welcome to video number 4 of my Python tutorial for absolute beginners. In this video, I'm going to ask few questions here. Then I'm going to give you some additional commands where you can use it in Jupyter Notebook, that is adding and deleting cells. You can use PyCharm as well instead of Jupyter Notebook. After that, I'm going to cover if else statement, how to use them, what they are, and by the end of this video, you will be able to use if how to apply if else statement in the program, and you will be able to create BMI calculator which can tell if a person is which can tell a person is overweight or not given the person's height and weight. First of all, let me answer a question. I am learning web development. What do you think about it? Should I keep going or start another language like Python? So I wanted to answer particularly this question. I thought some other people might have the same question. Maybe you started learning C++ or Java already and you are wondering, should I keep going with it or should I take this course for the Python instead? I would say keep doing whatever you're doing as long as you enjoy. Then if you want, take this course at the same time, because some of the concepts I will teach regardless of which language you did learn. For example, swapping two variables I talked about in last two videos, you can use that in C++ or Java language as well. Already know if you did any programming language what is the if else statement. If you done the C++, Java language, and if you did some programming, if you did few projects, so you will get to know what is if else statement. So let's create a new file to learn about what is if else and how to apply in the programming, how to use that function. Go to the new, go to the Python 3, then go to the untitled, right here if else statement, click on a rename. Here you go. Here you have created new file in Jupyter Notebook with the name of if else statement, because in this video we are going to learn about what is if else statement in the Python language. So the only command in the learn we last video, when about the Jupyter Notebook is run. I mean, when you click on this run command, then the whatever you have written in the cell of Jupyter Notebook, you will see the output of that code. So, so as I talked initially in this video, if you we are also going to learn few other commands and use of those commands in the Jupyter Notebook. So for example, if we talk about only the run command, and if you want to print output of a code which is written into the in the cell, then what we use the run command. For example, if we are using print function and if we write something like hello, and if we click on the run, then the in the output you will see hello displayed in the output. So that is what use of this particular run command in the Jupyter Notebook. So let's talk about few different other commands of a Jupyter Notebook. So after running, also one thing you have must have noticed, after when you type something in one cell and when you execute it, then the next automatically next cell gets created here. And what if we want to delete the cell? For that you can use this. So what if you want to delete this cell? So to do that, just click on this scissor, hence the selected cell will get deleted. And for adding cells, uh, click on the plus sign. Then in that way you can add as many cells you want in the Jupyter notebook. Also you can execute these cells in order the way you want it. I mean, it's not mandatory that you go sequentially. You can add as many cells as you want and write a code in that. For example, if we write something in this cell, print in double inverted comma high, and when you click on the run cell, let's you can see the output high. That means it's not compulsory to go cell by cell or sequential order of a cell. You can write your code in any cell. You can delete them, you can add them. That's the advantage of a Jupyter notebook. I mean, it's very easy to use. Let's try out a few more examples. For example, if you have written print a in this cell, and when you add one more cell, if where you define a is equal to 1, you might say if we try to execute this cell, then it will give error. Then let's try to run. Name error, name a is not defined. But before executing the a, if we write a is equal to 1 in the previous cell, so let's try that. If we write a is equal to 1 here, and if we execute the code, still then see, you can able to see the output here 1. The number 1 is got printed here because a is defined before printing it out. Okay, let me now delete bunch of cells here which are not in use. And let's add one more cell, and let's define b is equal to 2. And when you click on the, you don't see any output here. Now we have defined b is equal to 2 here. So if we try to print b here, and when we click on the run, see guys, even though we have deleted the defined, sorry, I mean, we deleted the part in the cell where we defined the b is equal to 2, and in that same cell we used print function to define whatever value allocate to the variable b, and it got printed in the output. What what happens is actually still printed, because even though the cell containing the statement b is equal to 2 deleted statement, Jupyter notebook still preserve that. So when I say that state of this Jupyter notebook is pretty much all the variables that are stored in the Jupyter notebook, and the state of this Jupyter notebook is not stored on this browser window, because like I said in the last video, browser window is just a user interface for the Jupyter notebook. State of the state of the Jupyter notebook is stored in the something called kernel of this Jupyter notebook and basically represented by this command line interface, this mic. So so let's click on the restart and clear the output. So right now what we did, we went to the kernel, we clicked on the restart and clear output, so it cleared out all the previous variables and the value stored in that variable. So right now if we try to run the program, you will not see any output here, because before clearing out all the variables and the stored values, we used to get the value 2, which was assigned to the variable b. But now in the after clearing out you and clicking on the run command in the Jupyter notebook, you will not see any value printed in the output. So kernel has been restarted now. You will see, here, you will see the name error here, because name is not defined, because it has been cleared out by restarting the kernel. Also remember that there is one kernel for each notebook file. So if we had another notebook file, if we restart the kernel for this restarted kernel for this notebook file, that won't affect the another, that it will not affect to this notebook file, because it is just a simple user interface, and we restarted our kernel in this Jupyter notebook, not in this Jupyter notebook. So it will not affect to the this Jupyter notebook, which is we renamed with the swapping two variables, which we discussed in the last video. Right now we have created one new Jupyter notebook file with the renamed it with the if else statement. So it will just affect, restarting kernel will only affect for this particular Jupyter notebook. Okay, so guys, just to recap what we have learned, as if yet, is how to use for commands in the Jupyter notebook. First is running the cell, then deleting cells, then adding cells, as well as restarting the kernel and clearing the output. So let's now delete all the cells which are open in this Jupyter notebook by clicking on this icon. Again go to the kernel, restart and clear the output. And let's dive into the main topic which we are going to discuss in this video. That is, what is if else statement and how to use it in the Python language. So let me give you the quick example here. A is equal to 1, B is equal to 2, and what if we want to show the message something like print A, A is less than B. So what we can do here is, we can, rather than printing this statement, we can use if else statement. That is, if A is less than B colon, that is if space A space less than space b and colon and print a a is less than b. You need to indent this new line by 4 spaces. Here we have given the 4 spaces. You can actually use different number of spaces, 3 number of faces, 5 number of spaces, but 4 spaces is convention in the Python. So these two line, if a is less than b, print a is less than b, this whole thing is called if clause. And after this if clause, you could have more code. For example, you if you wish, you can write one more statement here like print not just a is less than b. This if condition only applies to this line, and Python knows that colons are is here and 4 spaces. Here is the trick, guys. Why only if condition applies to this line? Because in Python language, in this consider the 4 spaces convention is there, but in this line it is not applicable. So this if condition and colon is colon apply to this line and 4 spaces are here, so this if condition will only apply to this line. So let's try to run this. So here you will able to see the output. So let's try out a different thing here. Let's assign if a is 3. In that case, try to not just. So here you are able to see, guys, when we assign 3 value to the variable a, and when we run the program, what gets printed out in the output is not just a is less than b. That means the second line.